me just preface this by saying it's probably gonna get a little bit ranty. Hey, hi, hello, my name is dis.cat, and this is Project Hardcover, where we're letting books be the escape. Hello, lovelies, and today for you, I have a book review that I wasn't really going to do, but because the internet, I felt that I could not do it, so I'm doing it. And that review is for Queen of Shadows, Book 4 of the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Now, as I said in the little intro there, this might get a little bit ranty, but not for the reasons that you may think. It's not because there's actually anything in the book that I want to rant about. Oh no, that's not why. It's because, seriously, I've been on the interwebs just looking at everyone's review of this book since it came out, and people, seriously, did we read the same book? Like, for real, except for like a handful of people. Like, all of everyone's opinion about this book is wrong. The characterization in this book was incredibly off. Wrong! This book was unnecessarily long. Wrong! Just this book was a complete and utter disappointment. You are so wrong, I can't even. Like, seriously, people, what is wrong with you? Now, let me say that, of course, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I respect everyone's opinion. You just need to respect that your opinion is wrong. No, seriously, please, don't send me hate about how, I don't respect people's opinion. I totally do. If you didn't like the book, okay, you're wrong, but okay. I respect you and your feelings. I can't even with how wrong you are. So with all of that being said, we're gonna delve into my thoughts about the book. We're also gonna pick apart some other people's thoughts about the book and how I feel about those thoughts, because, oh man, so much wrong in the world. We're gonna start with, of course, the best part. We're gonna start with the characters, because bays, just bays. And of course, we're going to start with Aelin, not Selena anymore. Aelin. So Aelin is so bae, I don't even know how to deal with life anymore. This girl has grown so exponentially throughout the entire series, but especially just from the last book, she's just a completely different person, and it's so fantastic. Just in the last book, Selena was just a broken person, completely shattered. She had no direction, no purpose really. She was just so lost. And now she is so determined and fierce. She knows what she needs to do. She knows how she needs to do it. She is doing it. And it's just so great to see, and I love it. So many people, not one or two or three, so many people talk about how in this book she made so many irrational decisions and how she was just uncharacteristically brutal, and I'm just like, people, where have you been throughout this entire series? As far as the brutal thing goes, she's an assassin. An assassin! I know that people have maybe somehow forgotten about that throughout the course of everything, but I didn't. I know that she's an assassin, and I know that she's brutal, and she can be cruel, and she can be vicious. That has always been a part of her. Just because it's kind of died down with all of the romance and all of the depression and stuff like that, doesn't mean that it's not there anymore. As far as irrationality, I don't understand what was irrational about anything that she did in this book at all. In fact, I think that she was far more informed and level-headed in this book than any of the other ones. So just people in there, they're beating on Aelin. I don't get it. I don't get it. Now we're gonna move on to, I think, is like the reason that so many people did not like this book. We're gonna move on to Chaol. Oh, Chaol. Oh, honey. Oh, honey. So let me start this off by saying that I have always liked Chaol. I always have. And before Heir of Fire, I was totally on Team Chaol, like 100% of the way. But I have always had one issue with him, and that is Chaol as a character is incredibly wishy-washy. Like, even in the beginning books, he was wishy-washy. He saw Selena, saw the things that were happening to her people, she would tell him terrible things that the kingdom was doing, and he would be like, oh, that's terrible, this is happening to you, and I feel so bad because I'm kind of in love with you, but I'm gonna stay loyal to the king because that's what I do, and just, and it was so wishy-washy and annoying. I still loved him as a character because that added depth and everything, but still, it was very annoying. And then we reached what I thought was going to be but actually it was just a peak of his wishy-washiness in Heir of Fire. Heir of Fire is when the wishy-washiness could not be denied anymore. It was brought to the full front, and everyone, including Dorian, was like, dude, you cannot do this anymore. You need to make a decision. Either you can accept Celaena for who she is, all of who she is, or you need to let it go. You can't pick and choose what parts of her you like, just like you can't pick and choose what parts of life and this job that you like. You need to either accept it or not. You need to make a decision. And of course, this caused all kinds of inner turmoil and whining and just such ridiculously selfish thoughts that he was driving me nuts in Heir of Fire. And then we get here. And yeah, people, Chaol in this book is selfish and just a whiner and incredibly annoying and just so wrong. And no, people, that's not shocking. It's not surprising. It's not, mischaracterization. It's just the way that the arc is going. Like, seriously, if he was annoying and selfish and wishy-washy and a douche canoe in the last book, why is it surprising that he's still one in the fourth book? To be quite honest, if we had gotten to this book and, the reunion of Aelin and Chaol happened and just all of a sudden all of his doubts were gone and he realized how wrong he was all during the last book and how he loves her despite all of her issues, I would have been so pissed. Because that doesn't make sense. Doubts don't just instantly go away the minute that you look at a person. I know that young adult fiction, not just this series in particular, but just young adult fiction in general, likes to make that sound real nice and pretty, but it doesn't actually happen in real life. And as much as it sucked and as wrong as he was, a lot of Chaol's, issues and doubts about things were, kind of grounded. Hence why this arc for his character is necessary. He needed to be confronted about all of these doubts. He needed to face these doubts head on. He needed to do these things. Just because you don't like what's happening to one of your favorite characters doesn't mean it's bad and doesn't mean that it wasn't supposed to happen. And then of course we get to the end of the book and things are looking up. Chaol kind of has his head on his shoulders again and things are starting to make sense. So just people, let character arcs happen. Just because you don't like the middle, it's the middle. Let the character arc happen. Trust me, it is for the benefit of your characters like 80% of the time. But I do feel that that is the main reason why so many people were not happy with this book. It was because of the complete and utter destruction of the Chaolena ship, or whatever you guys call it. Just the complete destruction of that ship and just the really problematic character arc that he went through in this book. I think that that's why so many people are like, oh, the characterization was off. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Trust me, it wasn't. And now we gonna move on to my main man, Rowan. And before we get into any serious nonsense, let me just take this moment to gloat because I called this. Go back to whatever wrap-up it was that I read Heir of Fire. I called this. I called it so hard. Everyone was telling me I was crazy, and I was like, no, I'm not. This is a thing. Accept it. And of course, I was right, and it was a thing, and it was wonderful. Wonderful. This is the relationship that this girl needs to be in. I understand that so many of you Solorian fans out there still are holding out hope, but I'm telling you, sorry lovelies, no. This is what's gonna stick. Because I still hold true to what I said during my wrap-up, whatever, when I read Heir of Fire. Dorian and Chaol, well, not so much Dorian anymore since the events of, Heir of Fire, but still, they're boys, and they, cannot handle Celaena in all of her glory. They can only handle bits and pieces of her, and only in so many segments at a time. But Rowan is a man. Rowan is a man, and he knows all of the things that she is going through. He has experienced most of them. He can just understand her on a deeper level than the other two can. And it's not just because of the soul bond thing that's going on. It's just because, you know, they share that. They're both fae. And it's just wonderful and amazing. And it's everything. It's everything and everything. Just, yes, accept this. Just accept it. It's okay. I mean, mourn your sinking ships, but just let it happen. Let them be happy. This is also one of the things that people were like, oh, there's mischaracterization going on. Aelin just falls into his arms and she's all damsel-y and blah, blah, blah. People, that's not mischaracterization. She was a little damsel-y when it came to Kale, too. It's just, that's not mischaracterization. That's love. Like, I don't know how many of y'all experience love in real life, but trust me, love is like the thing that, like, mischaracters us all. So no, I don't think that Rowan and Aelin's relationship was mischaracterization, and I love the slow burn. The slow burn is amazing. With the other two boys, she just so quickly kind of jumped into the relationship. Once she realized that the feelings were there, it was just balls to the wall. This is going very slowly, very gradually, and it's so addicting and wonderful. It's amazing. I love this. I love it. Then we have our poor abused baby Dorian, and just, oh man, what else can you say except poor baby? Just what else can you say? That being said, yes, it is terrible what our poor boy has had to go through in this book, but also, I think it's necessary. I mean, for the first 3 books, Dorian has had this very lackadaisical feel about him, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, his kingdom is like the most problematic kingdom in this universe. His father is like the epitome of all evil, and he's kind of just lounging around, going to parties and, you know, flirting with girls. And it's kind of like, no, honey, you have a really big job ahead of you, and it looks like you, like, have no idea what's going on. And then he's got all of his magic stuff on top of it, and still, he was just a very carefree character, and it's just like, no, that's not gonna work. But then this tragicness happens, and I just feel like it's going to be very beneficial for his character. He's gone through real life struggle now. Like, he knows true evil now, and he knows I can't just sit back and just wait for all of this stuff to be over so I can become king, which is kind of how I feel he felt throughout at least the first 2 books. Now he's like, no, this is my problem just as much as it is everyone else's, and holy crap, now I have to fix it. And I just think that this will be extremely helpful to him as we move forward. I don't know, I just feel like this entire ordeal has given Dorian just so much more substance, which is always good. When you give characters substance, it's good. If it hurts, okay, it's alright to feel sad. I feel sad, I feel bad for Dorian, but this is going to help him, so I am accepting it. And then, we have my other bae. We have Manon. And this is like perfect example of you don't like what your character is going through or what they're doing, but you understand why it's important and why they need to do it. Because, people, I love Manon. She is bae. I love her. I hated 90% of everything she did in this book. Like, the entire time, I'm just like, honey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this thing? You know it's wrong. You know this is not you. Why are you doing this? You are hurting me. Why are you doing this? And the short, simple, and just incredibly it's just right answer is because she needed to. She needed to go through this time period of not knowing who she was and doing things that made her feel incredibly uncomfortable so that she could grow as a character and know, no, that's not me. I'm not gonna do those things because that's not true to who I am. I need to do me. And that is what she's going to do from this point forward. Sometimes, people, sometimes you have to drag your character through the mud and sea of broken glass and salt so that they can grow. I have a little saying, people do not grow from paper cut pain. No, people grow from bullet hole pain. Plants don't grow because of flashlight light. No, they need brutal, scorching sun heat to grow. You guys tired of these growth metaphors? Yeah, you done? I can give you more. So that is what also this book was about for Manon. I feel like a just huge theme of this book was growth. These characters needed to grow or show how far they have grown. And that is just, it's so amazing. And that is definitely true for Manon in this book. She definitely needed to grow. She needed to get out from under her grandmother's shadow and realize, I am my own person. I am responsible for my own things and my own people and my own actions. And I need to do me. And she's gonna do that now. And it's gonna be fantastic. And also, I'm calling this now. People who are upset because the Silurian ship is sinking. Don't worry, you guys got a new ship coming. It's Manon. Like, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy that there's not going to be some really deep inner meaning as to why Dorian and Manon, of all freaking people, had so much to do with each other in this book. Like, nah, something has gotta grow from that. And frankly, just the idea of it, the idea of Manon and Dorian being together, that is hella awesome. If you don't want that, I don't know what's wrong with you. So don't worry, Dorian fangirls, your boy's getting a new girl, and she is just as awesome. And then, of course, we have the new characters. We have Lysandra, who is amazing. One of the most amazing side characters with the most amazing backstory and character development and complexity ever. She was fantastic. I loved her so much love for her. Just yes, new bae to join the tribe of baes in this series. Then we also have Elide or LED. I don't exactly know how it's supposed to be said because there's no pronunciation thing in the back of this book, but she also amazing. Just Sarah J. Maas and her amazingly strong, fierce female characters. I don't even know what to do with her. She is just, she gets the badass so well, and just all of her female characters are so multifaceted and complex and so awesome. I love all of them. They're so amazing. I'm just, yay. I love them. And then lastly, I saved him for last because I don't have an awful lot to say about him, but it's Adion, and it's not, I don't have an awful lot to say about him, not because I don't like him, because I do, but just because at this point in the book, or in the series, he doesn't have a lot of purpose. I feel like he had a lot more purpose in the last book, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not every character needs to be full front and center in a novel for it to be good. You know, it's just not Adion's time yet. I feel like there's going to be stuff within the next two books, especially now that we're back, you know, in Terrasen, and that's kind of his home, and he has more familiarity with it. I do think that he's going to be more pivotal in the next two books. But in this one, not so much. But one of the things that people, of course, are complaining about on the interwebs is the ridiculous hero worship of Aelin. And this isn't just in Adion's case, but in everyone's, in which I'm just you're wrong. I don't think that the majority of the guys have ridiculous hero worship of Aelin. I think that their respect and adoration for Aelin is very called for and makes an awful lot of sense for a multitude of reasons. First of all, in this book, Cale doesn't have hero worship of Aelin. In fact, he goes out of his way to try and villainize her the entire time, which is not cool. So, no, there is no ridiculous hero worship of her as far as Cale, is concerned. Dorian is, like, possessed by a shadow demon for the, like, entire book, so we don't get long passages of how hero worshipy and obsessed with Aelin Dorian is, so that doesn't make any sense. So that leaves the other three males that are present in this book, who are Rowan, Adion, and Arobin. First, we're gonna start with Rowan, because this one is just wiped clean, so incredibly easy. Yeah, he has hero worship of her, and yeah, he's kind of obsessed with her. He's in love with her. So that just totally takes care of that. Adian, it's a little bit more complex than that. With this, you have to remember that they were separated when they were children, and they were incredibly close as children. They were like siblings, and Adian, his entire life, was raised and brought up to believe that he is going to be like the dude in Aylin's life. He is going to be the one who soul melds with her and is going to give his entire being and self to her, and then he was totally just cut off from her from all of those years. So yeah, when they're finally reunited and he sees what a badass she is and how much she's grown from all of the shit that she has been through, yeah, he's gonna be kind of awestruck by her. And of course he's going to want to do everything and anything he can to make her happy because he's terrified of losing her. And then lastly, we have Arobin. And guys, here's the thing about Arobin. Like, everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. It's kind of made evidently clear all throughout the course of this novel. He's a manipulator and he's a user. And what is the best way to manipulate and use young girls? Make them feel like you think the sun shines out of their ass. So yes, whenever Arobin goes on long tangents about how perfect she is, how immaculate she is, how fantastic she is, yeah, maybe on some level that's true, but for the most part, no. He's just trying to use her. And she knows that. Everyone around her knows that. That's why they don't buy it and they kill his ass. And it was fantastic. So, those are my thoughts on characters and everything. Just this book. This book was so good. It was so good for our characters. Our characters grew so much, and I'm so excited to see what happens to them in the next 2 books. I'm also really afraid, but I'm really excited to see what happens to them, because so much growth and so much amazing foundation was laid in this book, which is why, people, I don't understand why you guys be hating on this so hard. Now we're gonna move on to some highlights as far as plot goes, the first of which being the epic Adian rescue. Guys, that was fantastic! That was so great! It was so suspenseful. Like, of course I knew that this couldn't possibly fail. It happened within, like, the first 100 pages of the book. I knew that it couldn't fail and everyone was gonna die, but still, I was at the edge of my seat the entire time, and it was so awesome. And then, of course, we have the murder of Arobin, which was also ridiculously awesome. That was suspenseful because we know that as crafty and cunning and brilliant as Aylin is, and everyone else in this little group as well, we know that Arobin, that sneaky little bastard, he's always a step ahead. He always has been a step ahead. That's why he got to the position that he was in this series. So putting these 2 epic tour de forces up against each other and having them outwit each other was so amazing. Not to mention, so much trust was involved in this, and not trust of characters that we've known for a really long time. No, we had to trust Lysandra, who we just met in this book, with this humongous thing, and that was terrifying. And because of that, it was so good and so amazing and so awesome. Just, so great. And then of course we have the thing that I think most people were most excited about seeing, and that is the Aylin and Manon meeting, and that played out so amazingly. I was hoping that when they met, they weren't gonna be like instant best friends. Ooh, you know, we have a common enemy, let's, you know, combine our badass forces and do this thing. I was hoping that they were gonna get into some skirmish. I was hoping that it was gonna be a begrudging thing, and that's exactly what happened, and it was so cool and so awesome, and I cannot wait to see more interactions between these 2 because they are so amazing. You just have these 2 powder kegs of women and you put them in the same space and they both want to be in charge and it can't happen, and it's just it's the best thing. It's friction. I love friction, and there's so much friction between these 2 ladies, and it's amazing. Amazing. And then of course we have the most climaxy of the climaxes. We have the epic rescue of Dorian, and of course it was one of the most epic scenes I've read in a book in the longest time, and everything was so intense. My heart was pounding the entire time. I was so worried about everybody, and it was just so good. So great, and I'm glad it came at the end of the book. That's where it naturally should have fell. So many people were complaining, why did it take so long for them to try and rescue Dorian? Maybe because A, for a grand majority of the book, they weren't sure they were going to rescue Dorian. I mean, as heartbreaking as it was, Aelin did have a point. There was this giant evil inside of him, and it's not like she was just going off the wall. She had seen what had happened to people who had these shadow princes possessing their bodies, and she knew that once you ripped them out, there was nothing left of the person inside, that they were practically dead, and it was a mercy to do it. So she wasn't wrong in her whole there is no saving Dorian thing. Yes, it hurt, and it made all of the Dorian fans feel squeamish and scary, and but there was fact behind it. So yeah, for the grand majority of this, we didn't even know if we were going to save Dorian. And then two, people, this isn't a walk in the park. This isn't just, oh, we're just gonna go in and just take him and leave. No, they had to get back into the palace, which was a pain in the ass the first time. They had to do it again, and they didn't have like a grand distraction like Dorian's birthday and the execution nonsense going on to mask it. Also, they're probably expecting it this time. There were also a lot of key components that they had to keep in mind. One of the biggest ones being, Dorian is possessed by a ridiculously powerful, evil, menacing shadow prince, and also possesses magic. It's like, that's not a little bad. That's not a little bad. That's a big bad. They also had to deal with the king himself. Guys, this was a big deal. So no, I don't think it's shocking that it took this long. It took until the end of the novel for them to save Dorian. It came right at the right place, and it was epic, and it was amazing, and I loved this book. So that's it for my thoughts on this. I'm pretty sure I can't think of anything else that I really want to bring up. That's how I feel about this book. I felt that this book was fantastic. I loved it. Second favorite book so far. Heir of Fire will always be Bay. That book was just fantastic. But this such a close second. Hair's breadth separates the two. This book was amazing. It was everything I wanted. Every single thing I wanted to happen happened. It was fantastic. Cannot wait until the next two books. Sarah, you keep doing you, honey, because you is doing amazing things. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this book. I would love to hear what you guys think. If there's anything I forgot that you want to know about, ask me down in the comments. I would love to discuss this. Don't be afraid if you were one of those people who was disappointed by this. Please still talk to me about it. I love debating. I love talking. I do respect your opinion. Don't think that I don't, even though I keep saying that you're wrong. That's just my opinion. It's my opinion that you are wrong. As always, thanks you guys for watching. I will see you next time, and remember, books are the escape, and this book was fantastic.